We had specific ideas about the floor plan because we wanted it designed just for our lifestyle and for our entertainment needs. So we worked with Mickey's architects in doing the floor plan. Then Nancy Ross at Dallas Design did a fabulous job in interpreting what we were telling her and making sense out of it and putting this together.
When people come in and they see the foyer and that view all the way up, what do they say?
Wow.
You know, Mickey found us and we found him virtually simultaneously. We had already purchased this particular lot here in North Dallas, and we'd already leveled the old house that was on it, so we started the bid process looking for a contractor. And we must have interviewed a half a dozen contractors. And Mickey, in every one of our meetings, always rose to the top versus all of the other contractors for multiple reasons. Mickey's an architect by trade, and therefore he has this unspoken ability to give you comfort and of his knowledge and his experience in the field that just a regular builder doesn't have. In fact, the one and only change order he gave us in our entire home was to increase capacity of our air conditioning system, which is a geothermal system. It's not just your average air conditioning system. And that was it. Over a 2-year construction period, that was the only change order we had. So he's pretty remarkable.
It's the quality of the home. I mean, the way it's engineered, the finish out's unbelievable.
These homeowners are only a handful of hundreds of satisfied Sharif and Munir homeowners. A seminal reason for that satisfaction, the Sharif and Munir team. Mickey is an impresario when it comes to putting together top-flight teams of architects, interior designers, project managers, and competent craftsmen. And so you know, not all of the architects are in-house. Sharif and Munir will happily work with your plans and architects.
10 to 15% of the design work that Sharif Munir builds is done in our offices here because it's either a specialized project or it's in a high-rise or the customer's asking for something so unusual we don't feel like we can outsource it. On the other hand, 85 to 90% of the design work is done by well-known Dallas architects and designers all over town. There's a perception that a guy that builds one house at a time or 2 houses at a time is going to give the homeowner a better result, and we don't agree with that. We have a lot of resources at our disposal that a 1 or 2 house a year builder simply does not have. We are our subcontractor or supplier's biggest client or their only client. And so when we direct our resources, they are very responsive. We always get the very best price because we are a multiple repeat customer to them, and scheduling can be a lot tighter. And for the guy that's building 1 or 2 houses a year, or 1 or 2 houses at a time, they're going to have to wait on the subs to show up when ours come one after another because of the priority that we represent to them.
You can also build great relationships with other architecture firms.
Yes, we do have a lot of good relationships with the outside architecture firms that we repeatedly do business with, and the thought that we do everything in-house is just not true. And as I said earlier, 85% of the work is done outside of our office through our resources.
Sharif and Munir home constructions are more thoroughly supervised thanks to this team concept. As a result, you can feel confident that your home will be everything you expect it to be. And that's why it's important to look before you leap.
We do a feasibility study on a selected home site before the homeowner is actually committed to purchasing that home site. We come back to the homeowner with a tangible design solution of that home site so they can actually see a layout of how their home would be if they did build on that site, and they can readily see the project's going to work for that home site or not. And there's been occasions where the home site just wouldn't work, and the homeowner would have been committed to purchase something and maybe have to resell it. And this way we're going to get to look before we leap.
I think alignment of expectations takes away the fear from people that are looking to do a custom home project. That's why some people will go out and they'll buy a spec home, because they have this fear that a build job is going to be too much of a task for them to overtake. They're concerned about being over budget. They're concerned that their builder may not know what they're doing. They're concerned that what it looks like on paper may not be what it's going to look like in reality. Well, at Sharif Munir, we're very concerned with aligning expectations. We will use such terms as benchmarking, where we will benchmark quality of construction versus another home that we have done. That way the client knows at the end of the day, I can buy what I have seen and touched and feel. Instead of being sold the dream, we sell the reality with the alignment of expectations, and that takes away that uncomfortable feeling of what am I getting into.
You also need to know that Sharif and Munir has established quite a reputation for fine remodeling and renovation.
Whether they're considering doing a major renovation on their home or starting from scratch and having us help them find a home site, or they may already have one in mind, it's a great place to gather ideas. And probably the biggest thing that people really appreciate about our model homes and our inventory homes around the area is it truly allows them to understand, I don't mind investing the dollars, I just need to know if I'm going to build a new home, which direction am I heading budget-wise? And we are able to benchmark different levels of finish and detail for people, so that if they indeed do say, we like the folks at Sharif Munir, we've heard great things about them, we trust them, then when they sit down with Mickey Munir, they can say, Grady Yates showed us 3 different levels, Mickey. We really want to take our home in this direction.
Some people believe Sharif and Munir homes cost more. Not necessarily true.
I think there's an assumption out there that we charge more in margin than some of our competitors, and that's just simply not true. Our markup is an industry markup of overhead and profit. The difference may be in pricing, that we put a lot of things into the bones of the home that aren't in a lot of other home builders' houses, that aren't readily seen just walking through a finished product. We've always emphasized quality construction in the bones of the home since we started our business. I mean, that's maybe a pass-through from the architect side of me, is that, you know, you start out with the best foundation you can possibly put underneath a home, and you follow that up with the best structural elements of the framing system and the fire protection and moisture protection and all the right things to do that are done in the bones of our homes that may cost a little more money, but make the house a safer place to live and last a lot longer. And there are several things that people will see when they look at the construction part. They can actually see some of the things that we're doing that a lot of other builders either don't agree with or don't subscribe to as something that will improve the longevity of the home that you're building.
Basically, it's a summary of his career, and that's, if he builds a good solid foundation, the rest will come. And he did that. He came to our home and overbuilt the piers. In fact, we used to have a gentleman that lived across the street. That he was an engineer, a bridge construction engineer, highway construction. He was in his late 80s, and he drove by our house when they were drilling the piers, and he said, "Son, if we ever have the big flood and they wash out from under your house, that house will be standing there." So he over-engineered this house. Not to my specs, but he over-engineered to most people's specs. I love it. I know that our foundation will withstand anything.
And through Mickey's brilliance and having the engineers who would put in the right foundation work, we were able to hang these 3 chandeliers on one very long chain down the center.
But that's the kind of thinking that he does, and we appreciate that.
This was the easiest house and project that we've ever done. And yet this is the biggest that we've ever done. It's the biggest and most expensive. But I'll tell you, you get what you pay for in life. And it does pay to cut corners. This is hopefully going to be our final home. And all I can tell you is we are extremely happy.
And we wanted to maximize the height of the ceilings in the rooms, and so we had to find ways to do that, and he did that partly with the superstructure by using steel in some places where normally you'd use wood, which gave us a few inches here and a few inches there. And so we were able to get what we wanted. But I think that's the best example of how he and his architects work with you to try to get what you want.